Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel. Today we are looking at Turtle Wax's ceramic 3-in-1 detailer from the Hybrid Solutions line. This is not a new product, kind of late to the game on this one, but I ended up seeing it on sale and I was like, I never saw a whole lot of chit chat about it. There's a few videos and stuff, but nothing major, and it didn't get anywhere near the attention as some of the other detailers like the Maguires and Geon. They got a lot more buzz. So I thought, hey, why not test it out? Because the next detailer I'm buying is the Sonex one, because I found it available locally to me. So I thought, why not put it through its paces, see how it is. It does have the advantage of being a big bottle. You get 1 quart, 946 millis for it. I think it regularly sells for like 23-ish bucks, which is pretty decent price considering this one's usually anywhere like 26. This is in the upper 20s, 28 sometimes, 26. This is 19 for 400. So value-wise, it's probably the best out of the bunch, but now does the performance match that? So we're going to look at gloss panels today, as well as hydrophobics with wash resistance, as in car soap and a mild pre-wash in the form of a weak Autofoam, to see if it can stand up to that. Because again, these are things you would apply every week, so you don't need long term. But can it survive a wash, or do you have to reapply it every wash? That's kind of what we're looking for here. So without further ado, let's move to the gloss. Okay, so we are now looking at the gloss panel. You've got section 1, section 2. We got a little flashlight, and there's a control that's on an angle. It's not straight up and down, it's on an angle. Just because this panel is angled and I wanted even sections. So you see control here in the middle. There we go. So pretty swirly, pretty hazy, grayish. If this was a black car in sunlight, it would look miserable. But we'll start with product 1, and then product 2, and then there's another panel with 3 and 4, because there's 4 products in this test. And again, blind testing for gloss. I want your eyes to tell you which one you like the most, not the product name, the brand, the price tag, the size, blah. Just look at the results, judge for yourself, then I'll go over who's who. So, number 1. And number 2. You might see my arm, but I'm looking in person as well. Just because I am not quite sure. But I think, darkening wise, they're pretty dang close. But I'm going to say number 1 is cleaner. It's done a bit more filling. So out of these guys, number 1 takes it over number 2, but not by a big margin. But let's move on to panels 3 and 4. All right, we're back with 3 and 4. Again, control in the middle. This time it's angled this way, so you'll see over here and over here with the middle here. Same thing, flashlight. So we'll start with the control. You see the lines there and there. And number 3. And number 4. And don't mind my arm, I'm trying to look in person. They've definitely filled a little bit, but they have not done a ton of darkening. So no matter which way I crank my head, it's a tough call. I think I'm going to give it to number 4. And remember, you're not comparing the swirls on this panel to the swirls on the other panel. You're just comparing to the control. That's where this is relevant. You can't really crosstalk them. You can sort of say it darkened a bit more here or there, but the swirling isn't perfectly even. I try my best, but it's not always perfect that way. So I'm going to say number 4 has a slight lead over 3. And I'm going to say 2 has a lead over both of these, and 1 has cleaned up. So I'm going to say 1, 2, 4, 3 is the order in which I've ranked these. So now let's go over who's who. Okay, forgive the slight angle change here in the camera. I took one rung off the legs on the tripod, and I don't feel like put it back up just to go over gloss. But in first place, and also in section number 1, Maguire's. By far the best showing here, but not by a long shot. So now, who is in number 2? Well, that would be Turtlewax. So not a bad showing. Decent results. Again, the Maguire's was ahead, but not by a ton. So a respectable second place. Who is in number 3rd position? Gian. Not by much, but it did beat the Adams. But like that. Not this, but like that. Very close. But these two are like over there compared to these two. Like way better, as you could see. And I'm telling you, in person, it looks the exact same. But now, let's get wet and look at the hydrophobics and the wash resistance. And these is also blind. I'm sorry, but not in the same order. So number 1, 2, and 3, and 4 from this test were not number 1, 2, 3, and 4 in the next test, because that would be stupid to have them be the same things, because then you would just guess it. So I'm going to get the buckets ready and the hose out, and then we're going to wash the panel. Okay, we are set up, give or take, for hydrophobic testing. So you've got sections 1, 2, 3, and 4 with the control down the middle, and the top is also control. So this has been polished with a foam pad and Maguire's M110, panel wiped, and that's pretty much its prep. So actually the swirls aren't too bad, all things considered, even though this is a beat up spoiler, but it's factory OEM black paint. It's prepped properly, it's applied properly. It's been curing for about 4 or 5 days now. So again, quick detailer, not something that has a time sensitive cure. If this was a ceramic coating or something more serious, I'd want to wait at least 1 week for a normal wax or sealant and 2 weeks for a ceramic. But typically if I'm doing something like not a detailer, I will go 2 weeks to get it cured, just to rule out variables. But these have had more than enough time. So the soap we're using is 3D Nanopale Super Soap, which is half an ounce to an ounce for 5 gallons. That's its dilution rate. So extremely high value, and it is legit. Like 1 ounce in 5 gallons is a lot of suds. I typically use half an ounce in 2.5 gallons, and then just use 2 bucket method. And I don't need more soap than 2.5 gallons usually. And then for a little bit stronger of a wash, we have a spray bottle with a foaming trigger of Built Hamber Autofoam. So that will be spray and rinsed, not scrubbed, because I know some people got poopy about that. So that will just be spray and rinsed. You'll see there's a bit of dust on the panel that's been sitting in the garage. It'd be like that if it was sitting outside, so it's not something I need to pre-treat before doing this test. So right now we're going to start with hydrophobics using the mist setting, just to establish the absolute max we can get for beading. And then we will shift to a solid stream to see some sheeting performance. And then I'll start the washing. I'm not going to show you guys me washing the panel with a detail factory brush. That's a waste of everyone's time. We'll cut to the results. If I don't see results after I'll show you the first one, and then maybe I'll skip to 5. If there's no change after 5, I'll skip straight to like 10. I'm not going past 10. Once we hit 10 washes, then we can do something a little more serious like the built hammer to see if there's any degradation from that. Because these are things you would actually wash your car with, not acid and degreaser and paint thinner and brake fluid and transmission fluid. Soap. But without further ado, water. Okay, so initial hydrophobics out of the way. I'm going to say number 2 is in a solid lead for rapidness and tightness of beating. Fastest sheeting times. I'm going to say number 3 is in last place. And 1 and 2 are pretty close, 1 and 4 are pretty close. Sheeted off pretty quick on 4. I'm going to give 4 a slight edge there. But as you can see, it's quite dry. Maybe you can't, this black panel. But anyway, yeah. And you've got your control in the middle, which is worse than the competitors. But 3 is not as repellent as the others. So it'd be interesting to see how long before I see a difference in the wash testing. But anyway, I'm going to do the first wash, and then we'll pump back in at the rinse off. Okay, so as you can see, all of the panels soaped up. No issue pushing the soap off. They are trying to bead back up pretty rapidly. So let's just get straight into the rinse here and see how they look. Wrong setting. Well, after that round, definitely number 2 in first place. Yeah, so 2, 4, 1, and 3. That is our order. There is some slowdown for a few of them. So I'm going to do a few more rounds of washing and rinsing and mop my floor about 600 times. And then we'll get back before I start foam if I find a difference. Okay, it's been 5 washes, and well, I'm not seeing a difference, but you tell me. And you'll see the control in the middle is, in fact, much different than the section, so you know that there is a product still applied. It's not just the angle, but... So still 1, 2, 3, 4. Although those 2 have gotten a little closer than when they started, but still going to keep the order the same. So I think I'm going to cut straight to the Autofoam because I'm going to fill up my mop before I get to 10. I want to keep mopping the floor. So I'm going to do one more mop and then we'll do Autofoam, and we'll punch in when I'm about to rinse it off. Okay, Autofoam has been applied, and as you can see, nobody is pushing this guy off. It is 1% PIR, so It is 7 milliliters in a 700 milliliter bottle. So one of the weakest delusions you can use this at, which is still very effective. Like, you can strip a lot of dirt off a car at this strength, but let's rinse it off. Once we rinse it off, we'll have a look and see how things are looking. If they look a little clogged or covered, we'll wash it once more with 3D, and then final assessment after that. I applied it to 3 and then 4 and then 2 and then 1, so I'm going to rinse them off in that order. There goes my mop. And so that the time on the panel is equal. Definitely looks like it took a chunk out of all of them. So we'll start in order of repellency. It's still definitely doing its thing. You can see the control in the middle is not. That's not the order of repellency now, is it? Yeah, still doing its thing. Working but slower. Working but slower yet. So definitely 1, 2, 3, 4. That's the ranking. So number 2 is winning, and I'm going to call it here because my garage is just wet. I'm going to call it here. They're still on there, so looks like they'll survive a weak Autofoam application. That's basically the gist of what this test is. You'll knock it down a bit, but they will still be there. You can probably keep going with it, still beating. And that's without even rinsing or a wipe down, which might bring it back a smidge, but evenly at least, right? So they're all still there, but again, that's your order. So we're going to go through that back at the bench and do our conclusions. Okay, so hydrophobic and wash test conclusions. Okay, so first things first. Contestant number 1, so this is the far left of the panel, was Adams. That was far left section, Adams graphene detail spray. Section 2, Megs. Not really surprised. If you know some of these products, you know that Megs is very hydrophobic and has a reasonable resistance to some chemicals for a detailer. So I was not surprised to see it in first place with that kind of a performance. So hats off, Megs. Your ceramic detailer is still relevant even to today, many years later. Contestant number 3, Turtle Wax. Yeah, so slowest water performance, slowed down the most with washing, although very subtle. All of them had like a little bit of a % off after one wash, and pretty much everything does. But the poorest performance in hydrophobics and repellency, it did slow down the most, but everything seemed to slow down in line with their performance. So the hydrophobic ones were the most hydrophobic as they degraded. They degraded evenly. So, yeah, that's last place. Number 3 was 4 in the testing. And then number 2, Geon Ceramic. So a good showing for Geon Ceramic, but, yes, this is designed to play with the Geon coatings and whatnot. And Meguiar's until recently doesn't have a full-blown ceramic coating, and neither does Turtle Wax at all. They just have spray thingies. But Adams has proper full-on coatings, and so does Geon. So these guys, their performance might change when you're layering them on top of their products, and that's something to pay attention to because they play within their families and they work within their families. So if you have a very good coating from Geon, which they have quite a few good coatings, the performance might be better when it's on its coating. It might be more hydrophobic when you top that coating because they will work together. So worth knowing, worth keeping an eye on. But I'm rambling. So in conclusion, yes, you get a big bottle. In the gloss test, it did okay. It was actually pretty good. The Megs took both crowns. So if these two are next to each other, you get about less than 200 mils more for this one, for a couple bucks less than this one. I'm going to go for this one, personally, because I don't have a companion coating that I really would want to put this with. Turtle Wax doesn't have a ton of crazy hydrophobic products on the market. Their wet paste wax is okay, but I would go for this one just because I think its hydrophobics and chemical resistance performance is better. When I say chemical resistance, I mean wash resistance. That's going to be my new thing now, wash resistance. Got to get away from this acid crap and degreaser garbage. But yeah, so that's the show for today, folks. It's getting kind of long, but I hadn't seen anyone really doing reviews of this, so that's a nice thorough test for everyone here. Now, if you've already wondering all these years why this was sort of ignored, that's why. It's not super great. It's a little outclassed by a lot of other competitors. So yeah. Thank you again for watching. Let me know if you disagree, agree. If you want to see things different, please tell me. I read the comments. I want to make sure that the content is relevant within reason. I'm not going to be Mr. Dumping acid on products. I don't agree, but we can discuss. So anyway, thank you for watching. See you in the next one.